Welcome back, members. I'm so grateful you can become a member and join us here on the Illuminations Media Network member site. You get so many perks. Well, here we are talking with Dr. Delbert Blair. And if you heard the other interview, the first half of this, you knew we just got into the very deep and I'll say it's juicy, that's for sure, issue of the Willie Lynch letter. And Dr. Blair has all the information about who actually wrote it. And catch this, it's a black man. Dr. Blair, please tell us about why in the world a black man would write the Willie Lynch letter, How to Make a Slave.
Well, let me say, when I finally caught up with him, I had one of these apprehensive, irate, let's go to war, you not so forth. But my questioning and of course my consciousness always said, get to the bottom of things. I always said, and I don't know whether this is good or bad, I always said, I want to know. So I finally located the gentleman I won't go through all the processes. He did respond to me, and he's a very intelligent man. I was impressed by his diction, by his intelligence and things he said there. So my question, of course, is, why the heck did you write it in the first place? And if you wrote it, aren't you ashamed of yourself? He said, no, I'm not ashamed of myself at all. So then he gave me this story. And that is, he was 69. He's 69 now. He wrote this. I'm not going to say supposedly. I believe he did. He wrote this when he was 32 years old. He was a very brilliant man, and he was just beginning to get into professorship there at North Carolina University. That's where he attended. There were 27 other guys around it, and they were looking at, they were getting to the Dr. King marches. They were looking at the whole idea of the black person here in the United States and how they need to be fighting for this and fighting for that. And in many cases, they were still not cohesive. They were just coming together, but like I said, there was still a lot of separation. So he started thinking, what could he do to unite and galvanize these black people together here as to fight as one, or to march as one, or to program and vote as one, so on and so forth. So this is when he got this idea. It was 27 other guys with him. It was a group of 27. And they sat down, and then once they kicked it around, he said, this will work it. We're going to come up with this particular letter, and we're going to distribute it. He got the name Willie, because Willie supposedly was a name they called, there's Sam, there's Willie. These are just common names that were given vocabulary to black people in general, just a common name. Willie, where's Willie, Sam, and all this kind of stuff again. Lynch came because of Lynchburg and lynchings, because they had been lynching black people, and they even have whole cities that are named Lynch again. So that's how he put together Willie Lynch. He was a made-up name, per se. He then he said one night he set up and he made 500 copies of this particular thing, which stated all the things that could be done to control black people, all the things that could control them from the generations, all the things it could do to take their children from him and have the woman not respect her man and rather be pregnant by a white man than a black man, and all these kind of things too. He said he knew when he made this, he stayed up half the night, and it was 500 copies which he distributed to supposedly 500 different places in North Carolina. He then waited for the reverberations. The reverberations never came. So what took almost 40 years from the time he was 32 So 69, when I interviewed him, he said it didn't really hit the fan until roughly when Minister Louis Farrakhan, was speaking at the Million Man March and referred back to the Willie Lynch letters. Then it began to take in a life of its own. That had been 30, well, let's see, he was 32, he was 69, that's almost 40 years, 39 years from the time he wrote it before it really began to come into fruition. And this is what now, he says, they were just surprised that all the time it's finally now getting to be known as that famous Willie Lynch letter.
Dr. Blair, I have to tell a story about how it affected me and how it actually motivated me to do something positive. I was studying hypnotherapy, and during that time, my teenage son came home from school, and he shared this with us. He actually sat down and read it. I mean, my son is a great orator. He spoke it in with a Southern drawl and all, and you could actually experience yourself there on the James River, right, in Virginia. And it angered me to the point where I decided I was going to use hypnotherapy to help to heal my people of what I called post-traumatic slave syndrome. And certainly I can't take credit for that term. I first heard it from Dr. Joyce Leary. And so synchronistically, I got a hold of her video as well, where she was talking about this whole process. I'm not sure if she mentioned the letter or not, but she certainly mentioned all of the insidious processes that I think our brother that wrote it actually probably recognized the processes and then just created the letter with. But I can say that something so ugly actually motivated me to want to do something. You know, and I can really see that was his intent, to create some sort of movement and cohesion here.
Well, you understand it, and that's the way he gave it. And of course, he doesn't deny it. He stands behind it. He said it just took only 40 years for it to settle in. So, but that was just amazing when I heard that. And of course, I read that letter and I heard about that letter, and I was always incensed and very, very, very angry at my black woman, very angry at me as a black man, very angry at our race that we allowed this kind of thing to happen. And I was asking myself, the Creator, if you created black people, and you created yellow people, and you created white people, and you created brown people, and you created red people, why in the world did you put this on to just the black people alone, which have melanin, supposedly that's all over the universe? So as I say again, I had to go through it, and that's why I was very anxious to interview him, but I believe him. And it's just one of those slow ingestive things. Some of those things, you never pass without getting either diarrhea or you're getting the constipation, one of the two. It's hard to let go of it.
Well, it's funny because once you get past the ego issue that somebody pulled the wool over your eyes, so to speak, and tricked you, you got to take a look at what it has motivated people to do. And of course, that was the intent. But I would say that this is a system that is real, even though the letter isn't real. It's definitely real, and I think it's something that's been used since Greco-Roman times to enslave all kinds of people because of their differences.
Well, yes, and in fact, it's still being used in many cases. If you understand now, genetic manipulation, they're now even able now to, some of the latest, I try to stay abreast of things again. They're now even making genetic babies. They got all these electronic babies, which they're trying to say where you can get DNA isolated from the ribonucleic acid, and you can begin to select by using two mothers, you might as well say hormones and stuff. You can begin to almost describe what kind of baby you want now, and they can actually make an automatic baby that is really a hybrid. So, now, of course, we have drones. And I was telling people last year, you're going to hate the word drone. By the way, I'm saying now, in 2014, you're going to hate the word nano, because now they're going to be making things smaller and smaller, and beneath nano is auto, and beneath auto is pico, so that whole syndrome, by which pretty soon, almost like in that movie Men in Black, you'll be able to put the whole world on the tip of your finger. As I say again, science is progressing in one sense and regressing in another sense because instead of doing good things as we get more intelligence and get wisdom, we do things just like we're ignorant and do nothing. We do everything for harshness and crime and so on like that. And a reason for that, too. We're not going to go there, though. There's an insidious force on this planet. And that's another thing, too. In Halloween, we seem to give honor to that insidious force rather than to bearing it and hope it's never resurrected.
As you spoke about that inequity between our technology and our emotional intelligence, I got the image of a toddler in diapers holding an Uzi. You know, that was an image that I got. But it is and what that says to me is that perhaps someone did give us some technology that we were not ready for, you know, because there is such a huge schism between, you know, where we are technologically and our ability to actually utilize it in a positive way. You know, we're running around actually harming the planet and ourselves with it.
Well, I always think of the works of Charles Fort. He's someone that a lot of people have never heard of, but he wrote 4 books, Lo, New Lands, Wild Talents, and the Book of the Damned. And that came so easy to me because I remember reading him. And on Charles Fort, he looks at everything that has happened on this planet. Lo was what he said astronomers say, and lo, they look at this azimuth reading and this, and lo, they discover a new planet. And the Book of the Damned is things that happen that aren't supposed to happen, so nobody wants to talk about it. Wild talents is when people can make automatic combustion. They can do so many things that nobody can. And let's see, Low, Wild Talents, Book of the Damned, and anyway, he compiled all these things that happen on this planet that shouldn't. And if they do, the question remains why. What really governs us? What is this planet? And as you know, again, I've tackled that one too. This planet is billions of years old, controlled by Dracons, and we're just waking up to their existence when the planet is trying to get rid of them. And this is why we're getting all these big evolutionary and revolutionary concepts, because the planet is finally getting rid of its nemesis. And instead of being glad about it, we're sorry about it because we can't understand why all the storms and corona mass ejections and all going. So I take that as deep as you want to go with it.
Now, back to the subject of the author of the Willie Lynch letter, being a black man. When you interviewed him, certainly we've covered his positive intention, and certainly we covered how long it took to create some movement to get the attention that he desired. What has been his experience since it has been recognized? What's happened? You know, has it fulfilled his desire with his cohorts?
Well, he's making money because people are inviting him to speak. He now has a satisfaction 40 years later, when he's almost 70 years old now, to seeing at least what he tried to evoke being invoked, and that people now can understand and reasons for it. So he feels that that's fulfillment. His only thing is now that they're about to embark on something else, and they're doing some more research now on melanin, and that's one of the things I'm going to be doing with them too. And of course, on why it is subject to so much consternation and why it can't be remanufactured. So he's doing well. He likes what's happening now. He's making himself some money.
And what has been the feedback from your listeners?
Oh, heck, we're still getting it. I just did that last weekend, in fact. The tape has been much in demand. People want to hear the tape, so the tape is now for sale if they want it. More than that, it's just like most of the people pretty much that are balanced, well balanced. Hey, it was done. It made sense. I can see why he did it. But isn't the big thing that look at this trick or treat that was put over our eyes for so long, which lets us know we live in such a racist society. It's very easily acceptable.
Sure. Yeah, it's it's definitely as I look through it, I'm actually looking through it right now. It is real.
Tamara, one of the things that's very interesting here is too, I tie it in with homosexuality. You know, there's a big schism here now between homosexuality and heterosexuality. You've got lesbians everywhere. On the movies now, they've got votes being passed each day that if you're in any way synchronistic about men going with men or women going with women, so on like this, then you are the one out of step. I simply say this again. That has been one of the things that happened that was promulgated by that. because the women no longer have respect for the men. In addition to which, again, due to wars and so on like this, there are more women on this planet now than there are men. Sometimes they're on certain continents, but nevertheless, if there's a sex going, people will find people. But now you have this whole thing. That is one of the contributors, I think, to that. And that schism that started there with that letter and the way black men were not at all respected and denigrated.
Very true. Disempowered, emasculated, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah, that is real. That's real. I just invite everybody to Google it. You can actually find it on my website, because all those years ago when I was motivated to do something about it by using hypnotherapy to alleviate post-traumatic stress syndrome, I actually posted it on my website along with a little bit of information about my genealogy. You know, something concerns me about the whole idea of us focusing on just being black, when we really need to understand that because of the institution of slavery, we are all a blended people. You know, we can't say that we are all this or all that any longer. And it's so important that we don't have that division even within our own selves, with our own DNA. You know, what would you say about that, Dr. Blair?
Well, it's very interesting, too, when you read history completely, or when you begin to look at the metaphysical side of history, and even without the metaphysical side of history, which to me, unless you can study the study of metaphysics, you can't understand anything on this planet thoroughly. But in the ports of Salih in Africa, too, they used to have white people that were brought in there and sold. In Africa, per se, there were areas there where they actually sold white people. You know, the Greeks had white slaves and so on again like this. It's just so much propagating because you have domination. When you have a person who feels, I guess, less spiritual and feels that whatever they do on the physical plane is okay, they want to dominate. And, of course, if you see someone that normally you can't talk to and get sex from, but now you can beat them over the head and rape them, or you can begin to get somebody who likes the muscles, but now you can make that person work for you. I guess it's that dominating portion of that animalistic portion of our humanity, here we go again, that comes out. It's just it's a natural fact. It seems to have been one of the things on this planet that seems to go on forever. They have people now, of course, being brought in from other countries and sold as slaves, concubines, sold as harlots and all like this, children from Vietnam and after this, and children from the Ukraine and everything else. So I think it seems to be part of the nature of what we call man and mankind. And here we go again, that this seems to be that bestiality, that domination need to make ourselves feel good and make ourselves feel powerful.
And Dr. Blair, that insecurity, it's deep down. You know, there's a fear of lack, that there's not enough, that it's dog eat dog. We've got to take before we're taken. Where would you say the root came from? And I know you're going to talk about the Dracons.
Oh. Ooh, that was a sneaky way to do it. It wasn't even sneaky. You told me what you were doing. Yes, and most people don't even want to hear about that. That's strictly metaphysical. But it's permeated to all of our science fiction movies now. They even have whole documentaries now about the underground, the underworld, and I've got it's an hour-long documentary. Everybody should see it. You know, some things, and that's one of the documentaries everybody should see. Another one, of course, is Psychiatry, the Industry of Death. But let's not even go further than that. Once you can begin to understand that our planet is billions of years old, we don't even begin to understand his story. Ours is a myth story, and that's what they call mystery and history. But this planet has been dominated by a race of upright walking serpents, or serpent degenerates, or serpent alternatives that has seemingly controlled this planet. Of the 4.9 billion years, they've had control for 3.6. So they've made races here. They're way in advance of whatever we're doing now. They've made our bodies that we're into. And if you begin to really segment it again and find out that right above those 32 stairways to heaven, what they call the vertebra, you got what is called a reptile brain. And they even name it that, reptile brain. It does 4 things, the 4 F's: fight, feed, flee, and fornicate. I'm using the nice language. Fight, feed, flee, and fornicate. The sign of the caduceus, which most medical doctors that are allopathic use, they don't even understand what the sign of caduceus is, where it shows you the upright walking serpents between the 32 vertebrae, leading to the ascension and all of this kind of thing. We've been shown time and time again, even on some of the ancient hieroglyphs, in not only Africa and Asia and Europe and on the other continents, it shows people fighting upright walking serpents and dragons. They always talk about the flying dragon as being the more escalated of all of them, again, the ones that fly. And they seem to have a pecking order, that crawls, that walks, and that flies, all times of serpent. Even biblical, they refer to the serpent and the serpent gods and so on like this. So I think it's just a matter now of using wisdom instead of just knowledge to interpret what has been said in many of the books called the Bible and the Holy Bible and the Talmud and the Quran and the Popol Vuh. All these books tell you the same thing. It's just that we haven't believed that they're upright walking serpents who control us. Now again, maybe we don't believe it, but at least it's being reintroduced as being part of what they call wisdom teachings.
So, Dr. Blair, who are they? Are they outlaws or criminals who've come from another dimension, or what would be their origin, and how are they getting away with doing what they're doing here on our planet?
Well, they're said to be fourth dimensional. This is why they can come through walls and all like that. But our planet is becoming fourth dimensional. That's why people are getting peripheral vision. They can see out the corners of their eye. They can see movement. We're beginning to get special energies now coming back in, as we are now having to evolve, because it is my understanding that our entire planet is now going heavily into the fourth dimension. And by 2015, we will be in what is called the fifth dimension, that our planet has been granted the right to go from kindergarten to grad school. And it's going to be done in a space of 3.5, 4 years. Now, that supposedly is a decree from the universal prime creator, first cause, whatever you want to call it. I don't call God, I'd say universal prime creator, but that there is a causation. There is a mind that has made this, and that mind has said that Earth is no longer going to be a laboratory plane, and because she's suffered for so long, she's going to be double promoted. So if that is the case, now you understand the reasons for corona mass ejections, the reasons for these Earth changes, because our whole planet is speeding up in its vibration, and what it's doing is getting energy from the sun, which is going to collect in what we call our nucleus, or our proton center, and it's now sending it back out through the Earth, which means that all this energy coming in from the sun, these coronal mass ejections, are now building up energies inside the Earth to get rid of these creatures who live inside the Earth, which are called dracons, and that's their habitat. Although that gets interesting, too, because you got so many things living inside our planet, if you believe in the theory of the hollow Earth, which is another whole interview, then you would understand what I'm saying.
Well, we have lots of material. Well, Dr. Blair, today I want to go back to that issue of, well, you mentioned that the Dracons created our bodies, and we know the story about the Anunnakis and the slaves, the mining of gold and all of that, and the creation of us. But who are we? Certainly that physical body that maybe they created out of all the stuff that the earth is made of, that's one thing. But why are we as non-physical beings continually trapped into these physical bodies? Why do we continue to reincarnate? What is that all about?
Well, now you're looking at this cause of life itself on a planet that has many names: Terrestus, Earth, Shan, Saros, the planet of sorrow, many things along this line. And it has been a planet that is unique, and because here supposedly reincarnation exists. There supposedly is very few other planets, other than a few like this one, and this is very unique, where reincarnation is an effect. Here it is a fact, which means that here, when a soul needs to learn, you send it to Earth. Here we learn hard ways here. Here we interface with 13 different kind of races. We only know of 5. So I'm saying again, why? Because this is what some souls need. You have a lot of children being born now that are special. They come from places like Arcturus, Alcyon, Procyon. They're coming in here and what they call crystal children, and children who are here for one purpose. They've even included incarnation to try and help this planet to graduate. Plus, you got the ones that just never learn and keep making the same mistakes, so they keep coming back over and over and over again, so they get rid of it. I've even been told, and I'd have to get into something that happened to me years ago, that the very fact that you come back here is a reason that you need to learn, and that you choose certain races because whatever that you hate or whatever that you love, you give concentration to. And whatever you love or hate, you have to experience or become. So a lot of times now, I've been told that on this planet, if you have a soul that hates black people, you come back as a black person. If you have a soul that hates white people, you come back as a white person, and on down the line. That racial jumping is done here because the soul is here to do one thing, learn. And until it learns this lesson, any means possible to make it wake up as to the truth of things. That gets to be very heavy. And I know, so I'm a course of corroboration or contention. I'm not saying either one. I'm telling you this is one of the things I've heard, the things that I've read, one of the things that I've studied.
Well, it certainly sounds true. And then what's next? You say you move up from kindergarten, and here you are, you're through high school, and there you are, undergrad, graduate. Then what, Dr. Blair?
Well, we're supposed to be going into the fifth dimension. Our whole planet is not any longer going to be a kindergarten. So if you stay with this planet, you're going to have to change. And this is why we're given so many opportunities now to raise our vibrational rate. And it's just like every night we die, but every night we look forward to dying, especially if you're tired. We die, we don't even know anything. Anything could happen to us when we go out of these bodies because we are not in the bodies. I'm sorry, we're not the bodies, we're in the bodies. And when we go back to the dimension where souls live, and where we go back to the dimension where you have consciousness, then we die of this dimension. I think the same thing is going to happen. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to ascend. Some people will transcend, and some people will offend. It means that there will be those who will go through all the hells that you hear talked about, because that's where their vibrations are, and on that level of planetary consciousness, that's what you will get. But then there is an ascension cycle, that those who will not have that get an entirely different experience. You die, and you go to heaven. When you go to sleep at night, you can go into hell or heaven, or you can remember nothing. Now I think we're going to make choices, and by our thoughts, that's what we're going to get. This is why I think thoughts are things now. That saying is going to be so true, because everybody can see things are speeding up. Everything is speeding up. But those who can't speed up, then you have to go back to the low vibrations, and that's where you're going to experience all these wars and stuff. I think all of us will not go through that. I think we'll go to we'll cycle into the dimension where our planet is going in her mind, where there is beauty, where there isn't so much that, but it's by our choice, by what we think, eat, drink, and do. You are a product of your own thoughts.
Oh, we certainly are. Oh, what a beautiful note to end our conversation on. Dr. Blair, our conversations go so very quickly, and I'm already looking forward to next month. I'm so grateful that you come with your wisdom. Not only do you knock us over the head with the negative stuff so that we can wake up and we can be aware, but you also soothe us with the solutions. And I'm truly grateful for that. And certainly, in the first half, we talked about some of those solutions. But if you could now, just in case someone didn't listen to the first half of this conversation, please share how they can get a hold of those solutions that you have for us.
Well, okay, yes, if they will, they can go to the website, which is www.themetacenter, that's short for Metaphysical Center. You push the number 2.com, so that's www.themetacenter, push the number 2.com. Or you can phone us, 708-422-6685. That's 708-422-6685. 24-hour answering service, manned usually 6 or 7 hours a day. Either way, you can leave messages for it. We have products we feel can help you to ascend. We have products that can help you into good health. We have products that we think will also help you to cancel out poisons and toxins, even in the air itself. It's just a matter of how much do you want them, where can you do some one-stop shopping, and I think the Metacenter might be one of those outlets. And I want to thank you too, Tamara, for having me on. I want to look forward to other times each month that we can get together. I think you are a brilliant young lady, and I think also that there are many people who will listen to you who will have wisdom enough to want to expand consciousness. And I think that that's what you're offering, and I hope again that this is one of the tapes that will help the people to help you to achieve that end.
Oh, I know it for sure. I had a dream about it, and so it's being fulfilled. So listeners, again, members, thank you so much. And look for more from Dr. Blair. As I said, we're going to be having a monthly conversation, and I would love to hear from you, maybe some topics that you would like to hear about. So make sure that you do pop an email, pop a line, contact us through the website. You're right here on the website, and that is the illuminationsmedia.network. And also, you are probably going to be looking for more stuff here, too, because we're going to be building and having more special member stuff, as well as perhaps some of Dr. Blair's wonderful lectures of the past, some of his articles, maybe some items of his in our store as well. So we'll have to talk about that and see if we can get Dr. Blair to bring stuff in a one-stop shop over here as well. So, peace and blessings, and everyone take excellent care of yourself and those around you. And remember that your brilliance, your beauty, your greatness, it diminishes no one. It only supports everyone around you to become the best that they can be as well. Until next time, peace and blessings.